Welcome along, everyone, to our social selling webinar. My name is Mike Clark, and it's an absolute pleasure to be here with you this afternoon. And we've got an action-packed next probably 45 minutes, might go a little longer, depending on how many questions and so on that you have. Just so you know how the session will run, I'll introduce ourselves and give you a better understanding of who our company is and what we do and how we do it. But my style of presenting is I like to ask a lot of questions. Some of the questions I'll be asking you will just be to get you to type in the chat box there, as a number of you are doing already, just to type in your responses. It's going to be difficult for me to keep track of the questions as we go through. So what we'll do is we'll do the Q&A session at the end, or I might, if I do ask you if you have any questions at the time, to then post them in there, and I'll keep an eye out for them. But most of the questions I'll be posing to you will just be to get a one-word or two-word response. And I'm really looking forward to this session, and we've got a lot to cover, so let's get into it, okay? Before we do, I just want to say a big thank you to a very good friend of mine by the name of Lee Ashton. I'll share with you a bit about the sort of results he's had from the LinkedIn training that we've done together recently. But Lee is, we've known each other for wow, I think 6 years now. And I was spending last night with just in a professional way, mastermind group, and anyways, Lee and I know each other and go a long way back. So big thank you to her, and she's extended the trust from herself to me. And my goal over this next 45 minutes or so to really deliver some great value for you, so that you can get some insights around what social selling is and how you can apply it more effectively in your business. And I'll also be talking about LinkedIn, as our company is the world's first certified LinkedIn training company, and how that relates to social selling. So yeah, I completely agree, Trish. They are a great way to get business done and to solve a lot of the issues that we have. So just to give you a bit of background of us, I'll whiz through this very quickly, so I won't bore you with all the details. But essentially, as I said, my name's Mike Clark. You can see my picture there on the right, and my business partner, Bert Verdonk. We have written a book, actually, got a copy of this book. It's just here. This is given to every single LinkedIn employee throughout the UK and Europe. LinkedIn often brings us into their offices to train their staff, which is a bit ironic when you think about it. But we are really masterful when it comes to understanding the platform. And what I'll be sharing with you today when it comes to social selling is about not just individual tactics, but an overall strategy that needs to be combined. I'll be asking you several questions that I want you to start thinking about in your business. And the goal is that all these questions fit in together to fit in quite nicely. And it's not like the one exclusively sits there. They all need to be answered in order to create a holistic social selling strategy. Just for some interesting places where you can find out more information, you'll see that there's a Facebook group that we have. If you just go to Facebook and type in Really LinkedIn, it's a very cool group where we've got lots of questions and interactivity going on in there, very vibrant. So if you have some questions outside of this session that you would like to quiz or ask us, feel free to join there. And I'll share with you, our Twitter is at Really LinkedIn. And so there's some other places you can stay connected with us, and feel free to even jump on in there and register and get involved as we go through the session. Again, to give you a bit of background about what we do, as I mentioned earlier, this book on the left is given to every LinkedIn employee at LinkedIn HQ, the EMEA HQ in Dublin. So upon induction, everybody gets a copy of our book, because it's such a fantastic reference model, which you'll be getting a copy of very soon as well, as part of a gift to you for joining this webinar. We've also been recently asked to write a mini book, the Mini Dummies book. It's a Dutch version at the moment, hoping to extend that reach. But our book, by the way, the Really LinkedIn book, is printed in 5 different languages around the world, and we'll give out hundreds of those every month. And to give an idea of the type of organizations we've worked with, as I said, we work with LinkedIn. I mean, we've got a long list of your household blue chip corporate organizations, as you can see here. We've also worked with thousands of small business owners, as yourselves. And I'm just out of interest, maybe just to get a gauge of this, if you just type in the chat box here, are you a small business owner, or are you perhaps in a corporate role? If you just maybe put SME or corporate in the box, that'll just give me an indication of where we're coming from with this. That would be very helpful. SME, great, which is what I expected. So Great. So, guys, as I said, we've got so much stuff happening here. Great to see all the vibrant comments, which is terrific. I'll quickly whiz through the agenda, which is we're going to cover what is social selling. We're going to look at social selling versus normal traditional selling. We're going to look at the social selling spectrum elements, and these are the questions you need to be asking yourself. And I'd like you to start thinking about these questions as we go through it. There'll be time for a bit of Q&A, okay, but there's a lot to cover. And then we've got a special gift for you. And by the way, folks, yes, we do have some training stuff that I will let you know about. Please, this is not designed to pitch to you. I just want to let you know about it because I feel that if you would like to continue the journey with us, I want to let you know about it. But that's it. I'm not going to be a heavy-handed, oh, you buy now, you get all these amazing discounts, blah, blah, blah. You will be, so I'll let you know about it, but please just know that it's just designed to let you know the next steps if you're interested. But the main thing is, at the very end, I've got a very special gift for you as well, which I would like to give, which is a free bonus for attending this webinar. So without any further ado, let's get into it. One of the first questions I've got for you is, what is social selling? Type in the box there, what do you think social selling is? And as you do that, I'm going to start giving you a response to this, because a lot of times people think about social selling is just about social media. And yes, social selling is about social media. However, there's a deeper underlying current, which is really important to understand. There's been a big shift in the way that we do business, and we'll be talking about that shift in just a moment. But social selling is about identifying and leveraging the trust that is already in your network with a view to expand and enhance your business through relationships. And we're going to be talking a lot about trust during this session at the moment. And for me, we're involved in some very interesting things around the Trust Conference and various events that happen, because trust, I feel, is not the new currency of business, but it is definitely one of the most important currencies of business at the moment. Absolutely. So you mentioned some good elements there, different channels, building a relationship, and so on. So it is absolutely. And there's two levels that I'd like to share with you of what social selling really is. Okay, so one of the main levels is that we will, it's at a very low level, social media is about using the right platforms to communicate, connect, and engage with your prospects and leverage that content effectively. So it's called a lower level, it is about using social media, okay? Hence the name social selling. However, at a much higher level, and this is the important thing to understand, is that there has fundamentally been a shift in the way that people, so I'll just read exactly what it is. It's about embracing the behavioral shift that has taken place and has fundamentally shifted the way people make a decision and buy products and services. Because that's what's at the heart of it, is that the way people buy now is different to the way that people used to buy. All right, and I'd like you to start thinking about that. What are some of the differences between traditional selling and a new era of what I call the new era of sales that we're in at the moment? So social selling versus traditional selling. What are some of the differences that you have noticed over the last 20 years? If you think about it, there was pre-internet, which is called pre-90s. Then you have the internet era that came in, 90s and early 2000s. And since then, you've not only had the internet, you've also had the social media boom that's come into place. And yeah, absolutely. So it's about building relationships, which is there already. But and this is the important thing, is that there's been a huge shift, and there's been a shift in the power of the sale as well. People can go wider, absolutely, Sue. They can go wider. Now, it's sometimes easier to have a global business than it is to have a local business. Yeah, absolutely. And Wendy, I absolutely agree with that. It's dealing with business through who you know. And this is the important thing about social selling, is that you can leverage the trust that you have with individuals, sort of like what Lee and I have done. We know each other really well, and so she said, wow, I'm happy because I know what you do and the quality of what you do, Mike. I'm happy to let others know about it. So she's extended the trust that she has onto you and to me, and as a result of that, now we're in this position right now. And it is absolutely, so you can reach global markets very easily. And here's just a bit of a breakdown for you in terms of some of the differences. All right. Social selling is very much about being timely and approaching people when they're ready to buy, not just when you're ready. And that's why the traditional sales approach is that it's very intrusive. It's like cold calling, or a lead's come in, I want to talk to you right now, okay? And social selling, because there's so much information available through, Googling and research and so on, and platforms like LinkedIn and all the social platforms, you can get a really good sense of someone and ask such better quality questions than you could previously because you didn't have access to that information. And so astute business people and astute salespeople have caught on to this, and they realize and they're adapting their strategies. Slower salespeople and business people are still applying dated techniques, and that's why their results aren't as effective. And so, it's about high quality conversion rates when you use research tactics versus quantity, low conversion rates. These cold calling numbers have just absolutely bottomed out. I'm curious if there's anyone here who actually still does cold calling. Feel free to mention in there. But there's a study done by IBM, and they were saying that since 2010, the effectiveness of cold calling was at a 97% ineffectiveness, and it's been decreasing by 7% a year, which is pretty startling. And that's why, because people now are ready to, they know they can buy when they're ready to buy. So that's how they like to behave, which is the important thing. And and as I was saying before, you want to ask quality questions versus low-level discovery questions when you get into a sales environment or a sales meeting. In social selling areas, you make it easy for people to take that first yes. Okay, we have lots of different target markets that we go after, and we give great free content. So instead of asking for someone for an appointment, we ask, would you like this piece of content? And they say, yeah, actually, that's really valuable to me. And so that's easy to take that first step. Whereas in the traditional selling sense, you might have spoken to someone, and your first step for them to take with you is give me an hour of your time. People's time is very precious this day and age. Always has been, really, but particularly now. And a big element is that the buyer now controls the sale, whereas in the past the seller controlled the sale, because the seller previously had information. Now the buyer has access to all that information, and they don't just want to have access to the information, they want to know, what did everyone else think about it? Who liked it, who's sharing it, who's commenting on it, that sort of stuff. And a big part of it now with social selling, as we'll cover in a moment, is about systems. You can become much more automated versus manual. So I like starting with that just to give us sort of a reference of the differences between the two approaches. All right. And now what I'd like to do is to cover some of the 7 social selling spectrum elements. And these really are questions which I would encourage you to jot down, and I would encourage you to, to just take consideration of, think about them now and how they apply to your business, but also just to maybe have a chat with your team, such as Joanna, you're there with your team and colleagues. Then I'd encourage you to have a bit of a debate and sort of stimulate some interesting conversations outside of this, how you can do what you're doing more effectively. Because I imagine with these 7 social selling spectrum elements, there's going to be some that you're doing, and maybe you might be doing all of them, but it's to the quality of which you're doing them. It's not just about doing them, it's about doing them well and doing them in the right way, because otherwise they just take up a lot of time and they don't produce much result. So the first element is that you want to turn your business into what I call a content creation station. Because nowadays, because you can leverage information so effectively through Twitter, through Facebook, through blogging, through LinkedIn. LinkedIn has really made some big steps in the recently to turn the platform into a content station themselves. And so you really want to make sure you have highly relevant information that's out there. And this allows people to take that first step with you and engage with you in a leveraged format. This is why we're giving away 1 million copies of our book on the digital version. We're over 100,000 copies now that we've given away. And, and we get people joining our database all the time and referring to us as a result of this book. And people pass it around internally inside big corporations as well. So the first question we'll be asking is, what type of content are you creating? And the second really important question is, how relevant is the content in relation to the prime prospect or marketplace you're going after? Too often I see people say, yeah, I created a white paper, I created a document, and it just didn't yield the results. And it sits there, but nobody reads it. And so then I just dig a bit deeper and say, okay, so tell me about who's your prime prospect. You might have multiple niches, by the way, but start with just one. And if you're sitting there now, which is the main niche that you're going after? Okay, and then think about that prospect. Who are they? Have them in your mind. And then ask yourself the next question, which is, what is the one piece of content, whether it be a report, a white paper, a PowerPoint presentation, a video, audio maybe, who knows? And what is that one piece of content that if they knew you had access to, they would tear your hand off for it? They'd say, absolutely, I need that information. And that's the type of stuff that you need to be producing. And what you can do is almost rank the content that you're currently producing and saying, how attractive is it to my marketplace? Maybe even go out and ask some of your prospects and say, hey, I've got this piece of content here. Out of interest, on a scale of 1 to 10, how relevant is this for you? If they keep coming back with less than an 8, then I'd say it's not good enough, because it'll just sit there and be bland and nobody will want to refer it on to others. Okay, and I'll give you an example of how this is applied. I'm going to show you some practical examples as we go through. This is another business of which I'm a shareholder of, which is Rockstar Mentoring Live. It's an online professional mentoring organization. And what we do is we produce basically, we have 60 different mentors who work with us, who have all started, built and sold successful companies, and they're producing relevant content all the time. And we show people how to get on page 1 of Google by using social strategies. And so we produce a lot of content, from blogs every week to videos to webinars. But where we were going wrong in the beginning is we were just producing content for the sake of it. And then we paused and we said, hang on, what's our marketplace wanting? What sort of content are they wanting to have produced? And then we realized there's 3 key markets that we're going for. Number 1 is pre-startups, the other is startups, and the other is more established businesses. And so we then started producing information and content around those areas, and now the level of engagement from our prospects is much higher, because now it's targeted to their specific challenges and issues, which is what you want to be able to do. Okay, so that's the first question I have for you, is how relevant is the content in relation to how relevant is the current content in relation to the demand and the eagerness from your prospects. Okay, it's maybe a note to self. The second thing is, you want to understand that you don't need to be everywhere. You need to know where you need to be when it comes to social selling, but you don't need to be everywhere. It's a classic mistake I see a lot of smaller businesses make. I think it was Maurice earlier, you mentioned you're in architecture, right? I did a workshop recently for an architecture, and I think, and they were trying to put together a multitude of strategies. And I think really two platforms I could recommend for you, Maurice, is number 1, blogs, and number 2, LinkedIn. Because these are 2 places that you could position yourself very strongly to be able to engage with people. You could have a blog which captures all the beautiful architecture and the beautiful designs and buildings and houses or whatever it is that you put together. And then you can link that to your professional network on LinkedIn. And it's a really good way to draw from the professionals on LinkedIn over to your blog to demonstrate the value that you demonstrate. Now, depending on the marketplace you're going after, things like Twitter or Facebook, probably not so relevant depending on the target market you're going for. But Twitter, maybe or maybe not. Those would be secondary and tertiary, I think is the word I'm thinking of, strategies. But definitely LinkedIn and blogging is 2 that I'd highly recommend. And that's just a little example of not needing to follow all the platforms. And your goal is with social selling is just to know where you need to be and then get really good when you're there, so that those strategies, when you're on that platform, turn into business, turn into results. Okay, because if you can do that, then you can employ more resources of people to get you into other platforms. And ideally, yes, you want to be in all the platforms, Pinterest, Instagram, everything like that. But your time is so precious when you're a small business owner. So you really need to start, where is the number 1 platform and maybe the secondary platform that I need to be, and then develop strategies around that. I hope that's helpful for you. And you want to make sure that they're linking and cross or overlapping to each other as well. So one of the questions you want to have here is, where are you publishing that information, the content, to get the most traction? All right, again, it's going back, you don't need to be everywhere, but which platforms are you on? And then which platforms are most relevant for your prospects? And how well do you demonstrate you understand your prospect when you're there? Again, coming back to the relevance of the content and the information, because if you have the right content placed in the right areas, and you stimulate conversations with people, then you find that people engage with you and want to interact and want to do business and want to be able to find out about your next steps. We're deploying some very interesting Facebook strategies, LinkedIn strategies, and the conversion rates are fascinating. They're beyond a cold call, far beyond cold calling. But you can really engage, and that's what you want to do with your social selling strategies. You have this information that's out there, and your goal is not to sell to people on the platforms. Your goal is to be able to engage and to be able to ask relevant questions, stimulate debate, stimulate conversation. As you'll see what happens in our LinkedIn group on Facebook. You go to Really LinkedIn just do a search for that in Facebook, and you'll see that we've got a fan page and a group. And we use that platform as opposed to LinkedIn because we find that's a bit more engaging. You can connect and interrelate to people. So we do use company and groups strategies on LinkedIn, but we also use Facebook because it's a great way to interact on a much more connected level. So they're the two real big questions you want to be asking yourself. And so one of the things you want to be discovering is which is the platform that's right for you. I was asking before who has B2C markets that they serve, and it seems like the majority of people are B2B, and sometimes there's an overlap B2B and B2C. So if you're B2C, okay, I definitely would recommend Twitter, Facebook, depending on the type of B2C environment. You might look at Pinterest and Instagram. These platforms are much more social. They're much more consumer from a business sense, which is the end user. So you're going to get a lot of interactivity there. So if you're selling, a good friend of mine has a multi-million-dollar, he's based in Australia, multi-million-dollar teeny boppers clothing brand, which is online, and he's got over 250,000 people on his Facebook page, fan page, and that he's done his whole business through that, really. And so that's a market for him. Now that's great if you're B2C. If you're not, B2B, I mean, if you're selling B2B, then without a doubt, in my opinion, I mean, yes, I'm biased because our company is not LinkedIn. We are independent to LinkedIn. However, I used to be heavily involved in sales strategies and sales training. That's how I know Lee Ashton. However, I made the jump over to LinkedIn because I've just seen how it's changing the game of how business is done, particularly in the B2B market. There is no better platform than it when it comes to that. I'll just share with you some of the statistics on that. LinkedIn has 25 million users. Actually, I'd like you just to type in how many users do you think are in the UK? Because the UK is having phenomenal growth right now. So just type in the chat box there. How many people do you think are active on LinkedIn in the UK? So feel free to type that. Oh, 4 million, 150 million. That's quite a lot there, Michael, considering there's only 66 million people. 19 million, Tom. Yeah, not too bad. Okay. All right. Well, here's a real fascinating thing. Got some great responses coming in there. Okay, quite a wide spectrum. The interesting thing about LinkedIn is it is the only, and it's the #1 global professional platform. There's no one else that competes with it. There are some other ones like Zing, for example, but it's really based in Germany and Europe-centric. So Germany and not much outside of that. And LinkedIn has gone from literally from its inception in 2003 to in its IPO in 2011, it grew to 110 million users. It has now doubled that in the past 2 years. So it's doubled the size of it. It's gone from 110 to 225 million. And this is why it's really reached the tipping point in a number of countries, and it's reached the tipping point here in the UK. But that's 100% growth in the past 2 years, which is phenomenal. And so there's actually 12 million users. Oh, Ciara, I hope I'm pronouncing that correct. Well done. You got the right answer there. Congratulations. And the really interesting thing now is that because it's such an effective platform with such highly targeted search functionalities in it, the top sellers are now using LinkedIn to target prospects. And this is what you should be doing with your LinkedIn strategies. Most people use LinkedIn in a passive way at best. However, we teach people how to use it from a passive, active, and most importantly, in a proactive way. And when you start using LinkedIn in a proactive way, what happens is you can generate a list of prospects. And this is a survey that was done of over 1,000 sales people in top corporate organizations. And the top sellers are using tools like LinkedIn in their social selling strategies. And then basically the results they're getting are far outweighing the results of lesser sellers, and because they are adapting these new strategies. The game of sales has evolved, and this is the interesting thing and fascinating thing, which is why Lee and I have some great debates and conversations about this. But here's an example of what you can be doing with LinkedIn. And when it comes to LinkedIn, your proactive strategies particularly, you should be able to quantify the output. You should be able to do, just as Jamie's done here, an example, which is, Jamie's got basically, he's put $350,000 in new opportunities in just 6 months. He put about an hour a day over the course of half a year, so 24 weeks. So it's 144 hours, produced 34 opportunities. And so as a result of that, that worked out to be about For the amount of time that he put into it based on the output, he was able to make $2,300 basically. And they're the sort of metrics that you need to be able to show and prove, which is what we do with our clients all the time. And that's why when you get it right, you can really be proactive and generate lists of targeted opportunities. And it's a really fascinating tool once you start getting into depths of it. One thing I just wanted to let you know about is just about a webinar series that we are running. And so we have a lot of clients from international, and sometimes people say, can we do training with you? We have a live webinar program which we're running in September. I'll let you know about that just at the end. And again, I'm just going to raise this awareness to you folks. If it's not of interest to you, that's fine to switch off right now, but I'll spend literally no more than a minute. But it is a 7-part webinar series that we're running. It kicks off on the 31st of July. And then every Wednesday for about 7 weeks, we'll be then running another webinar, 90 minutes each in length. And you can either attend live, and we'll be interacting with you like this. My business partner Bert and I will be running them. Sometimes it'll be Bert, other times it'll be just me, or it might be the two of us together. And essentially we'll be teaching active, passive, and proactive strategies. And the program for that is normally about £400. We're doing a special discounted rate for people for £247 plus VAT. If you're interested in that, then you can find out more information at reallylinkedin.co/LinkedIn-webinar-series. And it's going to be a really cool product for you, and from everything from upgrading your profile to using groups to company profile, generating list of prospects and targets and so on. There's more information on the link there too. So just wanted to let you know about that, as that's something you may want to inquire and find out more about. There's a link as well. Thanks for that, Michael. You put that link in there. Anyways, let's move on. Okay. The other elements that I want to cover here is when it comes to your social selling strategies, you want to look at the internal resources that you have available. All right. And you might be saying, okay, well, I'm a one-man band, or I've only got limited resources. I work with contractors. But still, if you're a one-man band, your resource is your time and the amount of finances you have. In the case of Joanna, you've got a team of people there. And too often I approach companies and ask them what sort of resources do they have and how they're deploying them in their team. And often, I'm surprised at the number of companies that tell me, they're cold calling, telemarketing. And listen, I'm not saying it doesn't work, and it does work to an extent. However, there's far much more effective ways to gain greater intelligence when you do those cold calls or targeted calls. Okay, and it's a matter of redeploying some of the time and resources you have available, and you want to be looking at that, either from your team and or at yourself individually. So a valuable question to ask yourself is, are you making the best use of resources available to you and leveraging them most effectively? And a lot of times with a social selling strategy, folks, they are time consuming. As I'll share with you in a moment with Lee, one of the challenges she had to me, she said, Mike, I'd love to do the training with you, but I just don't have the time to put into practice some of your strategies. And I said, well, that's great. I appreciate you're busy. You're out there doing so much training and delivering such great value. I understand that. But I said, but let's figure out a way to outsource it so that somebody else can do it on your behalf. And this is what you can show, this is what we can show you how to do, but also if it's other strategies outside of LinkedIn, the goal is number one, you need to create a process. Okay, so if it's a Twitter strategy, for example, all right, there's some really great Twitter campaigns you can put together, but you need to be able to create the process in place. That's number one. Then number two, once you've got a clarified process, you then get other people to do it on your behalf. And they do the legwork, okay? And they'll do the initial part until eventually someone says, oh, I'm interested, and they have a conversation. And then that person says, hey, this person's interested in having a conversation. Can you pick up the dialogue from here? And it's either you or one of your team who then does that. And so this is how you want to leverage your time effectively. So you want to, number one, create the process. The number two, get someone else to do it. And I'm a huge on outsourcing. I've employed a brilliant person, Rich, in the Philippines, for the last over 3 to 4 years now. We use people in India as well. So you can, and again, you need to have a clearly defined process which you teach them, and then they can implement it on your behalf. And you can do it at a fraction of the cost that you would normally pay in sort of UK terms. Okay. You like that idea? Good to hear, Sue. Excellent. So one of the other key questions you want to ask is, are you allocating time between your schedule and your teams to use LinkedIn and other platforms to enhance your relationships? And as I mentioned at the very beginning, social selling is about enhancing and developing the levels of trust that you have in your business. The companies that are the most trusted in the world create great outcomes for the clients. I mean, Apple, for example, you either love them or hate them, but if you love them, okay, then some people get so fanatical that they line up for days to be able to buy a new product, even though they know in the first 8 weeks the operating system is pretty dodgy. But what you can do is there's ways to develop and leverage the trust that you have, and social media is amazing to do that. Through Twitter, through stimulating debate. We just had a client, for example, yesterday gave a raving testimonial as a result of a sales strategy we gave him, and he's now saying, wow, it's worked so well, and he's given an amazing testimonial about it, and now that's open to others to see. Otherwise, it's just a testimonial that sits on your website. But by stimulating and engaging with your clients as well, that's a big one. Engage with the clients, because they're the people who know, like, and trust you. And the trust and the experience that they've had with you can be passed on to others. And this can be done in leveraged ways, again, and you have a process to be able to implement those ways, to build the relationship ongoingly. And by enhancing and building those relationships across thousands or even hundreds of people, dozens of people to start with, then hundreds, then thousands, then you start to create a consistent stream of new business coming into you. All right? But again, it comes down to the allocation of the resources. And this is shared with you an example of Lee. She came to us, and that was, she was very stressed because she thought they had all these opportunities, but at the same time, she felt that it was a bit too time-consuming, because she's like, oh, geez, how can I get this done? And then as a result of it, she ended up doing the strategies herself to create the process, which is what we recommended. And then now I just caught up with her recently, and she was saying that within 1 hour, okay, of using some of the advanced search LinkedIn strategies that we taught her, within 1 hour, she was able to put into a pipeline over 50 potential prospects. And then she identified 12 people who could introduce her, and we showed her how to categorize the introducers. And then as a result of that, she sent out emails. She did all this inside 1 hour, and then she had seven she had 7 appointments with new prospects. So 7 new opportunities inside 1 hour into her business. And she did this herself, and now she's got other people to replicate that so that she can do the highest value activities. And so that's when I say she now creates a continuous flow of appointments from prime prospects. This is what we're talking about. And so these now, and basically LinkedIn is a great way, and social media, really, if you think about it, is a great way to just get people into the beginning of your sales funnel. All right, and then once they're in the beginning of the sales funnel, you start the conversations. It's then up to you to then take them through the process. Excellent, good insights there, so I'm glad you're enjoying. And so one of the key things you also want to be looking at when it comes to social selling is how to assess your systems, okay, and asking yourself the question, do they speed you up or slow you down? I'm flabbergasted by the number of people when I talk to them. Then good to hear, Tony. I'm glad to hear you're still with me. Great, mate. But I'm flabbergasted by the number of people when I ask them about how they manage their data, or in Australia, data. I get confused now. I'm from Australia, so it's either data or data. I don't know which one's right anymore. It sounds the same to me. Probably not to you if you're English, though. But you really want to look at these systems in your business, because they can leverage your time effectively. Yes, they take time to set up. Yes, it is like pulling teeth at times, and yes, it may cost you. So the early stages of your business, I would not recommend getting too advanced. Okay. However, as you start to grow and create a bit more leverage, okay, and a bit more cash flow, then definitely looking at how you're assessing your systems. We now have lead pages in multiple different places. We have it set up so that if you registered for this webinar, you would have realized that straight after registering that you were then sent to a page where you could have a free consultation. And I think we had about a 15% conversion rate of people who said, yeah, I'd like to talk about my LinkedIn strategies with you. So as a result of that, we've now had, I think it was like 8 or 9 appointments now that have been generated. So that's an example of like a system that you can have that's automated. It didn't take us any time besides setting it up with my team previously. And as I said, it does take time, but you get it right, it means that you can have consistent leverage in your business. So this is the question we'll be asking. What internal client management systems are you using to track the progress of prospects through the flow of your information? And this is really key. So when you give away things like free books or webinars like this, or recordings of video and content, you can set it up so that your systems actually release that information at the right time. And the key question is, are you ready for business when your prospects are ready to purchase? Okay. Okay, beautiful. Great. So there we go, John. So there's another little social proof element. You have one of the sessions that we offered this morning and you've seen great value from it. Glad to hear. Thank you. And this is the key thing. Prospects and people are now luxuriously able to make purchases whenever they want, because a lot of companies have set themselves up in that way and you're competing against them. So you've got to make sure that your systems allow you to be seeming like you're operating 24/7 when in actuality you're potentially not. All right. So listen, folks, I've got a bit more stuff, and please stick around. We'll probably go for 50, 55 minutes. I hope that's okay, because I'd love to answer some of the questions that you have now. So feel free to quiz me right now. I'll sort of talk for a little bit more whilst you think of some questions, but if you have some, please put them in there. I'm happy to answer them. Think about what we've covered so far. Is there a particular question about your particular business or anything like that? And I'll make sure I can answer it. But essentially what you want to you really want to make sure that when you're dealing with the systems in your business, that they're set up to create better leverage. And that's what social media and social platforms allow you to do. It's about trust and leverage, and learning and strategies of how to do that is new. It's stuff that I'm learning all the time. I hang out with a lot of people in the Rockstar business. We've got a digital marketing agency which we pay a hefty amount to each month, and they continually sharing us new approaches, new strategies, and there's stuff I've never heard of, but they make sense once you learn them. And I'd encourage you to learn these techniques yourself. Hopefully you're picking up some of them today as well. Is it worth outsourcing to a graduate who is either part qualified experience or to get who has a great track record? Is this for your social media strategies? Is this what you're suggesting or asking, Trish? Yes. Okay, great. Listen, I would say if you aren't aware of the strategies yourself, then definitely get somebody in to help you create them. So for example, I do a lot of consultancy with companies, and and then often people will bring me in, wheel me in for half a day or a day, and say, tell us what we should be doing here. What are the strategies? Although we focus on LinkedIn, I know enough about all the other platforms that I can help to devise a coherent strategy for the level of the business, whether it's myself or someone else. You want to make sure that you have someone who can give you the right expertise to set up the strategy. You might pay them a little more, okay, but then you create a process and a project which you then can get someone else to do. So I definitely recommend get the expertise in first, but then secondly, get someone to follow through with that who can pay a much lesser wage. Graduates and everything like that are a great way to keep the cost down. So I hope that answers your question there, Trish. So Graham, is there a danger that the number of recruitment and sales messages will devalue LinkedIn? Love that question. And you know what, I share the same concern there, reading between the lines as yourself, Graham, because when people use social platforms in a traditional sense, when I say traditional sense, I mean like the cold calling technique. I mean, think about cold calling. It's just bam, 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 bam. Call people until finally someone's gullible enough to say, oh yeah, I'll talk to you. All right, that's intrusive. And if you treat social media in the same disrespectful way, then you're going to burn the relationship, you're going to burn the trust, burn the credibility that you have with people. So that's why what we love teaching people how to do is how the proper etiquette of how to use LinkedIn. So with all the webinar training and the LinkedIn training sessions that we teach, we always cover the etiquette. What is the most effective way, the proper way, the way that will engage with people and build the trust, as opposed to blast people and annoy them and devalue the trust that you have with them. So yes, if people use LinkedIn in the traditional sense and just blast people and annoyingly, then yeah, it'll be devalued. But that's why we actually are partnering with, with training a lot of people, hundreds to thousands of people every year on the best practice etiquette, so they can engage with people properly. Hope that answers your question. Glad you enjoyed the response, Trish. Robert, okay. Do you think it's worthwhile making regular industry article links useful for your profile, or do you run the risk of getting unlinked for creating too much noise? Another great question. You've got some really good questions here, guys. All right, so it comes down to, again, the relevance and the context. Okay, Robert, so that's my two first responses, relevance and context. If you're just releasing noise and a lot of unrelevant information, then people are going to get annoyed. Okay, full stop. And if you do too much of it, even if it's highly relevant, if you do too much of it, people are going to get annoyed. There's a delicate balance, and this is the thing about now with social media, it's about the personal approach. and personalizing things. So what I'd encourage you to do, and this is with your systems, your CRM, we keep accurate notes on all our clients and people who are prospects of ours. And so what we do is we keep track of the information, and then we can use targeted ways to provide them relevant information, so that we give just certain segments of our database, for example, a piece of information versus everyone, because that information might be relevant to a quarter of the database, but not to everyone. So you can then, with the right systems, we use Infusionsoft, by the way, which is a great platform to use. Then basically what we can do is we can use those systems to make sure that we provide the most relevant information to those who want that information, and make sure that we don't provide that information to everybody else, because they'll get annoyed. They'll get annoyed by that. But as long as the information is relevant and highly sought after and valuable, then you're on the right pathway, and then people will not perceive it as noise. But if you've got a mixed database and a mixed group of people, then you just want to make sure that you disperse that information in the right way. Listen, guys, wow, there's some great question. Yes, that's right, Trish, Infusionsoft. So Infusion, if Michael or Naomi, if you can just drop that in there, Infusionsoft, please. So listen, I'll probably have time for one question, and then what I'll do is I'll just go through the rest of the information for those of you that are sticking around, and then I'm happy to come back and answer them at the end, okay? So I'll answer one more. France, you've been, I'll put this, it's quite a long question, but I'll make sure I answer that one, and then I'll come back to the others just after I've let everybody else know about everything else, okay? So what is time consuming about using LinkedIn to build a client base? I'm working for an innovation consultancy selling consultant services, is to find the right people to reach out to market. Is there a way to find those profiles faster? Yeah, absolutely. So are you using the advanced search functionality, France? That's the first question I'm asking. I'm amazed at the number of people that don't use advanced search on LinkedIn. So advanced search functionality lets you search by all the different criteria, from title to yes, but spend a lot of time to reach through profile. Yeah. So yes. So the more targeted the searches you get, the better. And what you need to do is, that's why you need to combine the passive, active, and proactive strategies together holistically. Because if you don't have a strong first-degree network, and first-degree network basically is the people who you know. If your first-degree network is not as strong, or you have not been strategic about building relationships with the right people in your first-degree network, then what happens is that some of the strategies will be less effective and you'll spend too much time on it. So essentially, the things that can become time-consuming with LinkedIn is that you do have to go through people's profiles. You do have to be able to search information. You have to be clear on what you're looking for and who would be a good fit and match. And then what we do is show people how to actually put those opportunities into a pipeline, into a tracking sheet, and we have templates which we give our clients, and essentially you can then measure the output, such as Lee's done. So she was able to say, within an hour, I was able to put 50-odd people into my pipeline, which turned into 7 appointments. And so that can be time-consuming, and this is why we can show you how to outsource that to other people. And there's typically, to get a list of 50 prospects might take an hour or 2 hours of time. And so it's just, if you're busy like myself, I don't do that. I get people in my team to do that as well. So it speeds up the results that you can get. And there's numerous different things. That's just one example. There's other ways, there's a multitude of other ways you can get people to leverage your time so that you're not doing it yourself. I remember, as you said, can come across. Yeah, and you've got to be careful with recruitment. Recruitment, you've got to be looking to add value in different ways, Robert. That's a key thing. So I'm happy to have a chat with you about that outside of it, but the game of recruitment's changing massively. So listen, folks, I'm going to quickly whiz through a couple more slides, and I'm happy to come back to these questions. There's some great questions in here, so I want to make sure I answer them for you, but just being respectful for the time that we allocated to this webinar. I just wanted to share with you a little bit about what we do, how we do it. Hopefully that's okay. And again, I'm not going to be hard pitching to you. It's not our style. We just say, hey, this is available. If you're interested, talk to us. If you're not, that's fine too. All right. So I just want to share with you why LinkedIn is so powerful. Number one is it's going to save you time. A classic example of this is I met with the CEO of a large charity very recently. He'd been looking for the MD of Amazon for over a month, spending a few hours a week. I was able to show him that person and find out how he was connected to this person within a matter of seconds. And his best friend, not his best friend, but one of his good colleagues and friends was actually connected to him, who could introduce him. And it did that in a matter of 30 seconds. He was blown away. So LinkedIn will show you how to save time. It'll show you how to become more productive and effective, because our time is so precious as small business owners, and you've got to look for ways to speed up your results, which is what LinkedIn will show you how to do. And it'll show you how to become more strategic. What I mean strategic is that there'll be people inside your network who have the ability to, who you never realized had such great connections to your prime prospects. So it's whenever we do the lead generation strategies, there's always people that names that keep popping up, and all of a sudden you go, wow, hang on, wow, I never realized Barry had contacts to dozens of my prime prospects. Guess what I'm going to be doing now? I'm going to be taking Barry out to lunch and building a relationship with him. So that's a great example of how you become more strategic. We can teach you over 10 different lead generation strategies. I'm blown away by the conversion rates. A lot of them are 15 to 20 to 30% conversion rates. It's phenomenal. So we'll show you how to do that. You produce a targeted list of new business opportunities, and basically what it will produce for you is a continual flow of referrals and active introductions, leveraging the trust that's in your network to get access to the types of people you want to do business with. And that's the type of stuff that we do in business. I show people how to do. So before I mentioned to you a little bit about a webinar program, so an online webinar training that we deliver. We also do a live workshop. So this is physical workshops. We've got 2 workshops that are happening in September. It's the same program, but we break them into 2 half days. And so there's the first half day is on the 27th of September. The second one is on the 18th of October. It'll be Central London. And the whole goal of this is that we teach you passive, active, and proactive strategies to really ramp up your activity on LinkedIn so you can save time and produce more leads in literally a fraction of the time. This program is normally £400. However, we are doing early bird rates for £297 plus VAT. And you can actually meet Bert, myself, Naomi, and the rest of our team will be there to really give you specific strategies customized to your particular situation. That's what we'll be doing with you during these workshops. And what we're doing, just because, if the great relationship I have with Lee, again, if this isn't relevant for you, please just know that I'll be giving you a gift in just a moment. But if you are curious to spend more time with us and to help develop some very specific strategies that'll show you how to generate more business, then essentially what we're doing is that we're doing like a 2-for-1 deal. Basically, you can get access to all the training programs from the online training, which is the webinars like this. There'll be 7 of those that happen actually before the live workshops kick off in September. And it'll be basically just an hour and a half a week over the next 7 weeks. If you can't make the live sessions, that's fine, because they're all recorded, so you get access to the recordings, so you can watch them at a time that's convenient. You can pause it and you can say, okay, this is how I need to upgrade my profile. And so passive strategies are very much like about your profile, using rich media content, and making sure that you turn your profile into a lead generating tool and use it in your sales process. You can put videos on your profile, you can put data capture forms on your profile, and you can point people to it to say, listen, if you're interested to know more, go to my profile, read about what others think of me, and watch a video I've put together for you as well. We can show you how to do that sort of stuff. And then the live workshop will then be kicking off in September, and then again 27th September, and then the next half day will be the 18th. So by the time you go through this training, you'll become a Jedi LinkedIn master. Wow! You'll really understand how to maximize your time, and basically we're offering both of those for the price of just $297. So it's a huge saving for you. We're open to payment plans, that sort of stuff. We're pretty flexible around that. But basically, and happy to do money back guarantee. If you don't enjoy it, then we'll give you money back. But I know you're going to be blown away by all the strategies we'll teach you. And if you're interested in knowing more about that, you can go to reallylinkedin.co.uk/LinkedIn-webinar-series. You'll notice that you can register for the webinar series, which is £247, and then you can upgrade when you're ready for just £50 to attend the live workshops. It's your choice. And again, it's what we teach again and again is about return on investments. I'm about to show you a client of ours who made from our 2 sessions made £500,000 in revenue. And this is the sort of results that happen again and again. We have clients who come back to us saying that they're able to produce profitable clients each and every month for, as a result of putting into practice our stuff. So the free gift that we have for you to say thank you for joining this webinar, it's a free gift, is that Naomi, who is part of our team, comes from a very strong small business background. She's a marketing genius. She's been a fantastic addition to our team, and she is really been just embracing LinkedIn over the last number of months and years. And she's great at showing you how to get very strategic, as John will vouch for, as you heard his comment just before, saying it's really valuable. And she's happy to put aside some time, half an hour basically. If you've got questions about the training, that's great. If you don't have questions about the training, you just want to understand how to use your profile and how to develop LinkedIn strategies more effectively for you, then essentially what we're willing to offer you is, number one, you can get a profile self-assessment. So this is the ability for you to rank your profile from 0 to 100. And there's 25 different questions you fill out. It'll spit out an answer at the end of it, and you go, oh, geez, 40 out of 100, there's room for improvement. And then what you can do is you can then have a LinkedIn accelerator session with Naomi. She's literally, we're being inundated with people requesting these. Each day we get people asking for these. So there's Naomi's going away next week, so there's literally limited availability this week. She's booked out because she's got 4 slots available this week. And then she's only got limited availability the week after as well, and she's back. But if that's of interest, then literally just follow the link, which is reallylinkedin.co.uk/accelerator sign up. So reallylinkedin.co.uk/accelerator sign up. If we can please put that link in there, Naomi or Michael, please, that'd be great. And there is limited availability, so it's first come, first serve. But if you'd like to take advantage of that, I strongly encourage you to do so. And what I'll do, I'll quickly wrap this up, and then I'll go back to the question and answers, guys, okay? Just so you can get an idea, and we can answer some of the others questions that you've got. And this, I'll leave you with this question, which is, if you do need to shoot off, which is, what does your digital future look like? And I see sort of different categories of people when they talk about LinkedIn and social selling, and the mere fact that you're on this webinar tells to me you're obviously open to the fact that you want to learn new approaches and modify your techniques. But I really see that the way we do business now is like the way we used to do it and the way we currently do it. And whether it's through us or whether it's through anyone else, I'd highly recommend just learning the techniques and strategies that are relevant to your business. Don't be seduced into thinking that you need to go out there and learn all the platforms. As we mentioned, just know the platforms that are going to generate new business and are relevant, and where your prospects are hanging out. Master those strategies first. And then you get in and grow enough cash flow and revenue from those approaches to then get into the other platforms where you might be able to pick up more prospects from them, okay? And that's why I love asking the question is, what does your digital future look like? Because if you think about it, 10 years ago, how important was it for you to be online? Probably not so important. 5 years ago, yeah, important, but not so. Now, well, the number of people that are losing brand credibility, are missing out on opportunities because their LinkedIn profile or what they have displayed online is not accurate, or it's not up to date, or they don't have a photo, or they don't have relevant information on there, and people are losing business opportunities as a result of it. And if you think about how important is your digital future going in the coming years, I would say that now it's really important. In 5 years' time, it's going to be critically important that you're online, and when people search for you, they're impressed. They go, wow, that's really engaging. And then what you can do is you can leverage that information and leverage the hard work you've put into it to make sure that you use it inside your sales process. All right. And if you want assistance with that, I also do one-to-one consultancy for your teams, etc. You can do that, or feel free to get involved with with the different ways that I've mentioned before, with the different trainings that we have. And again, if you want to take up the offer, which is reallylinkedin.co.uk/accelerator sign up, and then you can essentially speak to Naomi. She'll give you some really valuable strategies to walk away with, and you can put into practice straight away. So thank you so much for everyone for sticking through it. That's terrific. I really appreciate it. We've had everyone. I think we're going to have one person drop off, so hopefully you're enjoying all the content, which is great. Now let's go back to some of these questions, okay? Actually, maybe what I will do just before we do that, is there any questions that anybody has about what we've covered so far, an element of that? Okay, so let me see where these questions are. Okay, I think I'll go back to some of the questions at the top here. Okay, so even though LinkedIn is, this is from Sue, even though LinkedIn is for professional market, is a more chatty LinkedIn is for the professional market, is a more chatty, personal style effective, or a more company style? Oh, that's a good one too. You've got some great questions, guys. So I think a big mistake that a lot of people make is they think that LinkedIn is just the professional network. Okay, in my opinion, you've got to show your personality. To give you an example, I just came from a meeting this morning. For big enough companies, we have a £1 million challenge that we do with them because our strategies produce literally hundreds of thousands to millions of pounds of revenue. And so we work with corporate teams, mid-tier and corporate teams, to show them how, and we put together a challenge and we hold them accountable over a period of months. And so I was talking to a potential client this morning, and first thing we did is he saw in my profile that I was a football fan. All right, and that's what was in the headline. So all of a sudden, before we talk business, we spent 15 minutes talking sport. There's at one point I thought, wow, are we going to talk business here at all? And when you show your personality through your profile, people engage with that, and it starts a conversation off, and it means that you can build trust and credibility with people before you get into the business side of things. So I would say that, yeah, definitely make sure that you tone down your personality. If you've got an outrageous personality like I do at times, I've had to tone down my professional side. But I like to bring into it my flair and my quirkiness, because that's me, and hopefully people like that, and I'll attract the people that like that. If it's a bit too quirky for you, well then we're probably not going to do business together, or we're not going to enjoy doing business together. But so you definitely want to have the both sides of yourself. Okay. Okay, so Michael here said, Mike, quick question. Do you recommend the paid for LinkedIn memberships? Are they worth it? Great question. I would say that most people upgrade their profiles unnecessarily, okay, because they essentially are not able to, when I say unnecessarily, they upgrade without realizing that they could achieve a lot of the things with the free profile if they knew how to drive the LinkedIn car effectively. And so most people upgrade thinking, oh, I should upgrade because I get all these extra benefits. But a lot of our teaching, I mean, 99% of our teaching is with the free profile. And the way that I describe it is that learn to drive your LinkedIn car effectively, all right? And then master those skills, because you can do so much with a free profile, so much. And then once you're at a point where you need to upgrade, then you can do so, okay? But only then. Other than that, just use a free profile, and then once you then specifically know why you're upgrading and which functionalities you're looking to benefit from. So it can be worth it, but just don't use it in the traditional sense, as I mentioned earlier, and just blast people with emails and things like that. You'll burn credibility, and people's impression of you will be diminished straight away, and you'll really be doing yourself a disservice. So just make sure if you use it in the right way. Okay. Okay, let's see another question. Brooke, the business subscription something is very reasonable and providing some good functionality. Great, yeah. Oh, you got the 61 out of 100 for the PSA. Good work, Trish. That's not too bad. Naomi, stop missing just Sue. Okay, talking about that. Is there any other questions here, folks? G, my trouble is that most people we get commissioned are by marketing people, and I find them near impossible to get through to. You might want to explain to me exactly what you mean by that. It's not 100% clear to me. I'm sorry. Is there any other questions here that I've missed? Naomi or Michael, if you can let me know if there's anyone that I've missed. I don't think so. Save me money already. Thanks, Mike. You're welcome, Trish. Beautiful. I hope to see you on this training. You'll save you more and make more money. If you've saved your money now, we'll make you money on the training. How do you find out? Tony's question, okay? Okay, hold on. I'll answer G's question first, because he said it's Gavin. Okay, I find marketing people don't engage in LinkedIn. Yeah, I completely agree. I'm fascinated. Like we're training big corporate organizations, as in Siemens just recently, and particular country of Siemens and division, which I won't name. But I asked them about how they're using LinkedIn, and none of them were using it proactively. I was absolutely amazed. So a number of people that just aren't using it really astounds me. And so, it's such a powerful way to brand your company. Like the company profile is such a powerful tool when you really get into it. So yes, I think that hopefully answers your question before, just reiterates what you were trying to say. Okay, Joanna, I send a thank you email to anyone joining my network. Is that overkill? You know what, Joanna? I think no, because we one of the things that we often do in our training is we teach people that if you're going to reach out to people, express why you're reaching out. Okay, and too often people just reach out to someone and say, and I mean, just think about for everybody listening in. Wow, we still got such a high stick around rate, which is good. So, but think about the invitations that you get sent. How many of them are personalized? I mean, it's less than 10%. And so this is the thing when I talk about best etiquette, there's numerous things that people do that really just don't do themselves any favors. And so, you really want to reach out to people. And even though it's online, you've got to think about, imagine you're networking in a physical sense. And, if you don't have a personal invitation, it's sort of like going in a physical networking event. It's almost like having a business card. Do I have one handy? Oh, no. Imagine this is my business card, and we've all had an experience like this. It's so funny when it happens, but it's like having a business card, and someone just shoves it in your face, and they go, "There you go, take my business card," and you're like, "Whoa, I don't even know who you are. What are you doing?" And straight away, you have an opinion of those people, which I will refrain from mentioning. And sending an invitation without a request of explaining why you're reaching out, in my opinion, is much the same. It's the online sense of that. So, I think the more that in those initial stages that you can clarify, who are you? Why have you reached out? And then saying thanks for reaching out, that's a great way. We have one of our clients, it's one of the strategies we teach, Joanna, and one of our clients says that as a result of doing that, that 1 in 3 people that they reach out to was turning around into a business appointment for them, which is pretty phenomenal. 33% of people. So I would definitely recommend it, but just make sure it's not lengthy. And this is the thing with social media requests, etc., is you keep them short and brief, not long-winded emails, not long paragraphs and that sort of stuff. Keep them short, all right? So that's a great question. Tony's question, how do you find out who's ready to buy? Cool, great one. On social media, I mean, typical buying signals can be a key one, but the goal is, Tony, is that you want to be able to move your online conversations. You want to stimulate a debate, okay? Ask stimulating questions, as you'll see what we do all the time through our groups and so on. And then you'll find that people just appear and show up and go, oh, that's interesting, and they're re-engaging. They're like, oh yeah, that's something, and then you just sort of have that dialogue with them. And then, as a result of having that dialogue, it'll reach a natural point where you say, hey, listen, I think there's some challenges you got there which I could help you with. How about we have a chat? And you do that more in a personal sense. So you wouldn't do that in the public display, like in a Facebook group. You wouldn't have that message in the trail comments. You might just ping them a personal message individually. And so you can ping them a message and say, hey, it sounds like you have some really good, it sounds like I've got some experience in this area. Could I suggest we have a chat and let's see where that takes us? And those can lead to conversations. And typically we find that for every 100 people that we invite into a Facebook conversation, 25 engage, and of that 25, half of them turn into an appointment, and then half of those will turn into a sale. So they're the figures you got, which is pretty crazy when you think about it. They're pretty nice figures, but it's also done in a way where you're serving people. And this is the thing about business. My background, as I mentioned, is in sales. And sales, I'm curious if anyone knows where the word sales comes from. It's actually a Nordic word, which means selje, which means to serve. And that's what sales is about, and you can do this more effectively through social platforms. So hopefully that's valuable for you. We're getting close to wrapping up, guys, so I'll answer one more question. Barry Shenbrook, should you be selected with? Yes, John, absolutely should be selected with invitations. If I don't know the person, I have a standard response where I say, hey, I don't believe we know each other. Could you please let me know why you're reaching out? And again, that's another technique which you can use. And some people get offended. It's amazing. People get offended by it. Other people will say, oh, hey, listen, didn't realize. Yep, no, you're right. I should have reached out. And others, are turning into prospects, into the business. So there's a reason why people are reaching out to you, the reason why they're connecting. You want to find out. Take the time to find out and or develop a process so that someone else in your business can do it, okay? Do you accept very, and absolutely. And in terms of Invitations, I could go on for quite a while with this. We definitely covered in the training. You don't want to just accept anyone. You've got to make sure you know why. And we recommend having a basic criteria, not too elaborate, but a criteria of who you accept and why you accept them. And then explain that to people who don't fit into that category. If they just send you a bland, broad brush invitation, let them know that you don't just let anyone into your network, and you like to find out why they're reaching out. And again, you just never know where that goes. But make sure people who you do let into your network, you have a relationship with, or you get to know them. Okay. Okay, Trish. Yep. Okay, great. Beautiful, guys. Listen, you've been fantastic, and I'm so impressed with the number of people sticking around. I've only had a small number of people drop off, so hopefully that means that you've enjoyed the content. I'm assuming you have. And just another, if you want to stay in touch with us, here's our fan page. You can join the How to Really Use LinkedIn fan page. Just type in How to Really Use LinkedIn into the search box. The other one is if you want a group into a private closed group, just type in Really LinkedIn into that. So either How to Really Use LinkedIn is for our fan page, and Really LinkedIn is for our closed group, and you can have some really cool debate in there. And our Twitter feed is at Really LinkedIn, so you can follow us and comment and share and all that sort of stuff. You're more than welcome, John. I'm so glad that so many of you enjoyed it. It's great to see you on here. And if there's any ways we can help you out, as I said, we've got a lot of the training. If you want to take up the offer of the accelerator session, it's reallylinkedin.co.uk, accelerator-sign-up. And or if you want to just get involved and take advantage of the special offer we have, go to LinkedIn. It's all our web address, /LinkedIn-webinar-series. Would love to be able to serve you. Would love to meet you in person and to do business with you, and to show you how to make more money for your business and do it in a shorter period of time. That's what we can definitely show you how to do. So anyways, guys, if we see you or we don't see you, thank you so much for tuning in. I've really enjoyed this. I've enjoyed your really interactive debate. It's been fantastic. I appreciate that. And big thank you to Lee Ashton again. Lee, love you. And thank you so much to everyone for being here. Have yourself a fantastic afternoon, and let's enjoy some of this sunshine that's upon us.